This is the Vietnam of the Mekong Delta, one of the 9th Infantry Division's defense areas. It is the Vietnam of endless rice paddies and swamps, of myriad waterways, the Metho River, the Vam Co, the Can Juic, the Na Bay. A watery battleground for which the 9th Division soldier is very well equipped. He is the striking arm of the Mobile Riverine Force, a unique joint operation by the United States Army and Navy, as novel and precedent-setting as the air cavalry. To provide the payoff, as in all forms of war, both new and old, come the infantrymen. These are soldiers of the 9th Infantry Division. Their stout-hearted performance in battle has added luster to the nickname the Division won in World War II, the Old Reliables.
Okay, move out.
The 9th had a glorious history in World War II. It served in Africa, France, and Germany, and quickly won the reputation of being unbeatable, completely reliable in action. I know because I started out with them in North Africa. The terrain and the enemy have changed. Vietnam is far different from Europe. But one thing hasn't changed: the fighting spirit of the 9th Division. The men who wear its patch today have proved themselves to be from the same stock as the old Reliables. I know them and their battle record well. I was assigned to the division's information office when it was reactivated for combat under the urgency of the Vietnam War. That was in February 1966 at Fort Riley, Kansas. In record time, the new 9th Division was transformed from a cadre of officers, non-coms, and a mass of recruits into a combat-ready division. We said our goodbyes. By November of 1966, the 9th Division's 3rd Brigade was en route to Vietnam. In December, the 1st and 2nd Brigades followed. It was a long voyage, halfway around the world. Plenty of time for detailed training and calisthenics. But still time to relax. In Vietnam, meanwhile, our base was being rushed to completion, expanded from a smaller camp left by the 1st Infantry Division. This camp, called Bearcat, was established as the division base. It occupied a strategic position in relation to Saigon, with firm lines of communication to the sea at Vung Tau, port of entry and naval base. The 1st and 2nd Brigades came ashore at Vung Tau in January and February 1967. They were under the command of Major General G.S. Eckhart. By late January, the 1st Brigade had already been in combat in Operation Colby against a Viet Cong stronghold southeast of Saigon. It was typical jungle terrain, which means that movement was slow and visibility limited to a few feet in any direction. In some cases, the jungle was so dense we had to create a clearing for the helicopters to come in. They never failed to deliver the ammo, rations, and other supplies we needed. We began to hit pay dirt, Viet Cong tunnels, bunkers, and weapons. Even a communist flag. When one search and clear operation was finished, we went on to another and another. The 9th Division's main responsibility, however, was to help secure the Mekong Delta. This vast, fertile area is virtually one gigantic rice paddy, broken up by rivers, canals, and earthen dikes. The Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces have been fighting a long struggle against the Viet Cong in the Delta. Our job was to help them. It was decided to set up operations at Dong Tam, about 40 miles from Saigon on the My Tho River. The question was, where do you put troops when every square inch of dry ground is lived on by Vietnamese or used to grow food? The answer was, create your own dry land. The world's largest dredges brought up millions of tons of sand from the riverbed and made a base capable of supporting an entire division. Supplies would come in via land, sea, and air. Thanks to the engineers, the Dong Tam base soon had its own airstrip, big enough to handle caribou-sized, fixed-wing aircraft, as well as helicopters. A large force moved in right away. Not that we stayed on base very much. Most of the time, we were out in the rice paddies, scouting for the enemy, and learning how to operate in the deceptive terrain. What looks like a scenic rice paddy to the eye often feels like a swamp to the feet. You're lucky to keep moving, however slowly, in this watery muck. When it becomes more muddy than watery, a man can be completely immobilized. Getting stuck in a mud hole can be an exasperating experience. The swampy mud makes one grateful to hit open water. This stream was supposed to be fordable. In a way it was, from the neck up. When the water gets too deep for treading, the men of the 9th Division turn on a little Yankee ingenuity, using an air mattress to float gear across a stream. Or by making a raft out of a poncho. For a 9th Division scout dog, a river crossing is no problem at all. The watery terrain makes it hazardous, even for the highly mobile helicopter to use a rice paddy for a helipad. A fairly hard earthen dike is much safer when it's available. Operation of ground vehicles proved to be a chancy thing, too. The powerful armored personnel carriers often plow through swamp water with great ease, but muddy roads are a real hazard. When you gamble on moving tracked vehicles on terrain like this, you can be a loser as often as not. The Delta proved to be a testing ground for machines as well as men. But as we got to know the lay of the land, we learned how to keep the armored personnel carriers moving. These APCs are M113s. We like to have their firepower around when we hit a Viet Cong ambush. We often ran into them without warning. We never knew when a harmless-looking piece of scenery might explode with enemy fire or a booby trap. And there was always the difficulty of determining who was friendly and who wasn't. The Rock-Kien area was full of tunnels and underground hiding places. Some were even underwater. We always left a grenade as a calling card. We had our share of Purple Hearts from sniper fire and booby traps, but we called in medevac to get our casualties out fast. Stopping didn't necessarily mean resting. We filled sandbags for our defensive perimeters. In 1 month, the 9th Division filled 500,000 sandbags. 500,000! We got a surprise visit from a 9th Division veteran, General William C. Westmoreland. He dropped in during Operation Port Sea, in which we bagged a lot of Viet Cong supplies and equipment. We were all pleased to see him wearing a 9th Division patch from his service with the old 9th in Tunisia. We kept moving, or rather sloshing, ahead. Wetness was the order of the day, the week, and the month. Most of us would feel strange if we ever got dry. Well, it did simplify taking a bath. And washing laundry. Gradually, we began to move more and more on the waterways, not in them. They became highways, not obstacles. Of course, the division's helicopters continued to play a major role as air taxis for troops. To transport artillery, vehicles, even other helicopters. And to extend the Medical Civil Assistance Program, MedCap, deep into isolated Delta villages whose inhabitants seldom see a doctor. The medic showed that sometimes the best medicine comes in the form of a laugh. The fixed-wing spotter planes, nicknamed Bird Dogs, had the job of guiding aircraft into strikes at enemy positions. While the jets orbit overhead, the Bird Dogs take a run at the VC positions to mark them with smoke rockets. The pilots are highly trained Air Force Forward Air Controllers, FACs. They don't hesitate to fly low within a few hundred feet of the enemy in order to bring the planes in on target. The daring and precision of these men is a major reason for the tremendous effectiveness of inter-service cooperation between the Army and the Air Force. The war in the Delta produced another form of inter-service cooperation in which the 9th Division played a major role. The Army and Navy combined resources to create a unique strike force, to which the Air Force also gave fire support. It was called the Mobile Riverine Force. The 2nd Brigade of the 9th Division was its primary combat unit. One must go back to the American Civil War to find a major precedent for this inland waterways task force. Army and Navy working together as a fighting team. When the men go out on a mission, they have the close support of the Navy flotilla, with all the facilities necessary to resupply and maintain them. The soldiers live aboard the USS Benoit and the USS Colleton when not fighting. These floating barracks hold a 30-day supply of fresh food and provide medical, dental, and other facilities. The auxiliary personnel lighter also accommodates men of the Mobile Riverine Force. The USS Ascari contains a complete machine shop and facilities needed to maintain and repair weapons and equipment.